And with us right now is the founder and CEO of Oxford Business Solutions and thetaxcure.com, Dusty Rollins, all the way from the other side of Orlando. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Josh. How are you?
Awesome. Awesome. All right, Dusty. So how did you get into the world of taxes?
Well, I got into my own business probably 25 years ago, and it was a construction business. And at the end of the year, it took a couple years to get going. And after a couple years, I had a good year. And I went to my accountant and he said, well, you owe this much money. And I'm like, no. I couldn't have made that and owe that. Like, you mixed me up. Let's try again here. Let's start. So that really began a do-it-yourself journey into the tax world and the tax strategies. Because I knew there were two tax codes, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. And I got to choose which tax code I paid in. So I just kept learning that so much and then all of my friends would ask me for tax advice, and I had I wasn't qualified. I had nothing, no credentials. So that kind of led me into saying, hey, let's just do this as a business.
Yeah. And so this was Oxford Business Services comes about around 2010. So now over 10 years, both between Oxford Wealth Strategies and Oxford Business Services.
Right.
And what was was that the transition that you were referring to?
Basically, yes, because for a while, early on, I was still in other businesses. And as I was learning the strategies on my own, and then in 2010, we went full-time into this business. And, Josh, I like to say, I think one of the advantages I bring as an advisor for my clients in the tax space and even in the profit accounting space is I call it a front of the check advisor, right? If you've only ever signed the back of a check, there's something down there that you're still missing, right? But those of us, and you know what I'm talking about, Josh, because it's you, and I'm assuming it's you and a lot of your customers and clients and friends, we've been there when we had to borrow money, put our families at risk, and to make payroll, and because we just had a dream and we knew we could do it. Once you've had that experience, there's a bond there. And so I bring that experience into the tax business for my clients. And I find a lot of CPAs and accountants don't have that front of the check experience.
Yeah. Yeah. We get it, right? We've put it all on the line, used our cars as collaterals, our homes as collaterals to make payroll, to, maybe it's, putting stuff on a personal credit card just to pay your own bills so you can pay your employees first. Yeah, no, I get it.
Well, and then you do really dumb things. I like to tell people, very few people can outdumb me. I bought a Mercedes on a credit card. So,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, I think that's a really a strong badge for the dumb crowd. I'm the leader.
We'll call it a rite of passage. How's that?
Right.
Yeah. So everyone gets to make their dumb business financial decision. Oh, trust me, I made my share. So,
right.
Yeah. So, okay. So you start Oxford Business Services, and what do you do for your initial business? How do you get your first handful of clients?
Well, it's a great question. Golfing, I live in Florida, like you mentioned, and I despise golfing. So I went and tried, but I was like, I knew I needed to golf for the connections and for the networking, like we were talking about a lot of the high-end networking, high-end business owners, you say, can I have 10 minutes of your time? And they're like, no. Then you say, well, let's go golf 18 rounds. And they're like, sure. What day? And I'm like, that's 4 hours. Like, what, you couldn't give me 10 minutes, but now, so I desperately tried to get good at golfing.
I hope someone right now, this is what if I were listening to this podcast episode right now, I would hit the pause button and I would, as I'm driving down the road, I would ponder that for a moment. What you just said was just so profound. And I know we all know it. We've all experienced it. But I want you to think about that for a moment. And please tell me the rest of the story. Okay. After I'm just kind of like, that was actually really deep.
Well, good, because there might not be any more. So hold your hat on that one.
We have peaked, ladies and gentlemen.
Got to have one. So I went golfing with a buddy of mine. I kind of called it golfing, and actually, this doctor, my buddy brought another doctor client with him and his 13-year-old son at the time. And so the 13-year-old son and I were hitting off the lady tees, and just a miserable day of golfing. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I asked this doctor, in a very casual way, I just said, hey, doc, he asked me, actually, Josh, he said, well, what do you do? I said, well, I help high-end business owners with tax strategies, but I'm sure you don't pay any taxes. So after I got through all the expletives.
What a great line.
Wait a minute. Say the line again. Park, yeah. So he's like, mother, boop, 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 boop. He can't even say half of it on this podcast. So
thank you.
After we got done with that, I said, hey, can I have 5 minutes? And so I got the 5 minutes after, the miserable golfing experience that I had. And what I would say too about that, Josh, is, that was a key relationship. He's still a client now. We're actually business partners. He's a doctor. I co-own a lab and an urgent care with him. And it's been a phenomenal referral source. It was a career builder off of one relationship, off of golfing. And I'm horrible at golfing. I actually love fishing. So I'm trying to do more of that, take prospects and clients out fishing.
That sounds fun. I probably am a better fisherman than I am a golfer.
Right.
Even so, I live technically on a golf course, but we'll go out and hit the driving range, and it's always an embarrassment.
And then you can fish in the ponds, because golf pond fishing is good fishing.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so things start humming along because of your personal networking, and then where do you take it from there?
It's a great example, great question, Josh. Because what I really did, I'm an introvert. I tell people I'm an outgoing introvert. So like this with you is comfortable to with me, but if I go, I get drained if I get around a lot of people. And so I have to manage my energy on a personal level. And so I realized, I can't be in a business where I have 1,000 clients. That's just going to drain me like crazy. So I have to figure out ways I can go much deeper with each client, because I can protect and maintain that relationship. I heard someone talk about it's kind of the difference in 4 quarters and 100 pennies. There's multiple ways to get to the dollar. So I'm the 4 quarters guy. And that's where, like I said, with this doctor, I built a relationship with him, and then all of a sudden I'm his outsourced CFO, and then we're doing, co-own several businesses together. We're launching a big urgent care network together. So that relationship led on a deeper and deeper and deeper level. And so that's kind of how I've been building it at this point, because I really, I'm 47 years old, and I kind of have really started to figure out who I am. And then I said, you know what, I can build my business around who I am.
Yeah. Okay. So fellow Gen Xer, what are your favorite bands growing up?
Well, it's interesting because I grew up in a boarding school in Malaysia. So I kind of missed, and see, you'll know this, Josh, because this was we go back every year with my family. We go live for a month in Malaysia, because I want my kids to experience different culture. And so when we go back now, we have Skype and FaceTime and all that crap. When I went back before, you couldn't even make a phone call. Like, you would have to go, a phone call was a 30-minute ordeal to call my grandparents, once every 2 months. So a long-winded rabbit trail to say I missed a lot of the culture of growing up in the States. I was an American.
What were you doing over there? Your parents, or?
They taught at an American school over there in Penang.
Okay. Interesting. Very cool. Let's talk taxes in the few minutes that we have left. These guys have been talking about golf and music and Malaysia. I was like, I want to hear the tax guy. All right. So on your website, so if I'm on thetaxgear.com, it says, all right, listen, if you're married, you're making over $200,000, you are probably overpaying on your taxes. So what am I doing wrong?
Well, it's a great question. And there was a study that 93% of business owners are overpaying their taxes. So that seemed pretty high to me. And I think the biggest mistake, Josh, that I see is the business owner just defaults it. So what I tell people is your taxes are your biggest lifetime expense. A person like yourself, Josh, bar none. I mean, more than college and housing. If you add up your tax bill over your lifetime, it will be your number one expense. And I like to tell people, that's why I put married in the headline on my tax site. The second expense is divorce. So if you stay married and you keep your tax bill, if you're already married and you stay married and you keep your tax bill down, it makes a $3.5 million difference. I did a 20-year run on Guy A and Guy B in my book called The Taxpayer Manifesto. And I did this A versus B thing. And the only two variables, the one guy had a tax plan and stayed married. The other guy got divorced and didn't have a tax plan. And it was a $3.5 million difference over 20 years on the exact same money. So that's what I like to tell people. When most of the time when I'm talking to a business owner, I say, well, what are you doing on taxes? What are you paying? Well, I don't know. I got a guy that handles that. That is a very costly mistake, because one of the lines I like to say is your CPA, your accountant, they're not doing what you think they're doing.
No, right. That's not typically their job. A strategist is different than a CPA or preparer.
100%. Their job is to get your taxes and that's ironic that today is tax day for business returns are due. Their job is to get numbers into boxes and send it to the IRS so you don't go to jail. And that's an important part, but they're not sitting around. This is what I tell business owners. Do not doubt me on this. They are not sitting around saying, how can I save Josh more taxes? You know, it's a bad system. It's a good people in a bad system. So the system right now, they're getting paid a flat fee usually, and they get paid to do your return quicker. So the quicker they get your return done, the more profit they make. They don't have time to sit around and strategize and say, how could we really save Josh extra money on taxes?
So what are some of the biggest things that most people are missing?
Well, it's interesting. On the entry level, it's entity. So a lot of times they'll remain a sole proprietor or Schedule C. They won't get the entity right, so they overpay on self-employment tax. That's for beginning business owners. That's a giant one. That's an area we can come in and slash 3, 4, 5, 8, 10 grand. Know, with a slight little bit of paperwork. It's a lot of fun. And then as you expand, one of the things we talk about, I like to talk about, there's 3 levels of taxpayer. Level 1 is W-2, and you're screwed. There is very little tax planning you can do or tax savings you can do if you only have a job and get a W-2. So what I tell people is, well, start a business. So level 2 is a business owner, where you're about the deductions, right? So and at the end of the year, your accountant says, or about this time of year, the accountant's saying, what did you spend it on? Let's make that a business expense. Oh, here's how you get your vacation. We can write that off. It's all about deductions. Level 3, that elite level, when you start particularly getting over 200 grand a year, that's where you start becoming, I call it the Navy SEALs development part. Like that's where the tax side goes, to where in a way you're partnering with the IRS. Now I view myself more as a libertarian, so it almost hurts me to I get a chuck, when
and Ron Swanson.
Thank you. I love Ron Swanson. So this is a partnership where you sleep with one eye open. Right. What I'm saying is, what we do is the government uses the tax code to drive behavior. So when what you're wanting to do, Josh, to build wealth for you and your family, when that lines up with what the IRS and the government is wanting to reward you for, then that's where we partner together. So that's when you look at captive insurance companies, banking-like structures, ESOTs, monetized installment cells. There's a way you can actually set up a corporation and sell it within 5 years and not pay a single dime of taxes. So that's where those strategies come in. And what has happened, Josh, it used to be years ago, these strategies were only available to companies like Amazon or Walmart, who could pay all their advisors. With the internet and technology and just the way modern life has gone, we're able to simplify those and put those into the smaller business owners' hands. I feel like I rambled there.
Man, all right.
But
So
I
we
love
need another
this
30
stuff.
minutes.
I love
Is
it.
what we need. But you do have a, do you have it looks like a webinar, right? Or you have something, if I'm on your website right now, where you start going through and teaching some of these things, thetaxcure.com.
Absolutely. And I know I hate to put, I've got an audiobook coming out that'll be up there.
That'll be fun.
For free. And that really goes into our process a lot more.
I just said a tax book's coming up. Oh, that'll be fun. you know, we are total business nerds if I'm saying a tax book is fun.
Actually, I tried to make it as fun as possible.
Yeah.
One of my chapter titles is You're Being Robbed by Your CPA and Accountant. Another chapter is Cruises, Ferries, No, Not Tinkerbell, and Taxes. So I tried to make it a little interesting because here's the irony, Josh. I'm an enrolled agent, which means I can defend and fight the IRS on behalf of my clients, but I actually don't file my own tax return.
Right.
That is a very commoditized business. It's a business that AI is kicking their ass right now.
Wow.
I mean, in 3 or 4 years, the tax preparation world, because it's very easy to have a decision tree.
Absolutely.
Are you a business owner? Yes or no? Are you an employee? Yes or no? Did you spend this? It's very easy for AI to go into the tax preparation space where it's less easy. It will come eventually, but where it's less easy is on the strategy side, because that's where we're playing chess. That's I think the best analogy is most advisors in the tax space are playing checkers. One move, one move, one move. We're playing chess where we're like, okay, I don't know if you ever remember the show Big Bang. And one time Sheldon was playing Leonard in chess, these super intelligent genius nerds. And Leonard would go to move his chess piece. And then Sheldon would say, well, I'll beat you in 3 moves. And, and then he tried a different move. And he said, well, I'll beat you in 4 moves, because a good chess player, of which I am not, I'm equally golfing and chess are about the same for me. So, but a good chess player is 3 or 4 moves ahead. And that's what we do on the tax side for the business owner.
All right. Well, Dusty Rollins, again, your website is thetaxcure.com, a fellow Central Floridian. Dusty, that was awesome. We need another 30 minutes. Come back and let's get back together about 3 months and let's dive into a little bit more tax strategy.
I love it.
Awesome. Dusty, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Josh. Really appreciate it.